So the Renaissance period, as I look at it, is a 200-year time of innovation, exploration, and creativity. And if we look at where we are right now in 2015, we are at a tipping point where we have the internet and we have global economic. And it's an opportunity for all of the creativity expansion where if we look at the Renaissance man and woman, there were men back then, more women now, but it is an opportunity of the polymath, of the multi-dimensional creativities and learning and behaviors. We're now connecting in a way we never were able to connect before. So I believe we're actually in the beginning of a new Renaissance, a new beginning of, many call it awakening, a human consciousness awakening. Ultimately, it's an igniting, I'm hoping, of new creativity and new invention. Firstly, that intuition is in every human being. It's part of actually our neural structure. So it is not something that's woo-woo, it's not something external to you. I'm going to talk about the neuroscience that shows where intuition kicks in and how intuition is very different from instinct and is also very different from radical thinking. So intuition is long-term memory. So it's a learned response of experiences. And it sits within the limbic brain, and the limbic brain is the emotional center. So when we get an intuitive feeling, some people call it their gut response, which is what it is, that intuition will allow you to make decisions much more rapidly. And if we look at any great leader, it's their intuition that actually allows them to make their quick decisions. Slow decisions are not happening intuitively. Slow decisions are happening by radical, rational thinking. Intuitive decisions are that rapid, intuitive response. One of the things that over the last 15 years is working with so many leaders, whether it's business leaders or sports teams or in performing arts, which is my background, and looking at the leaders in what I call absolutely being in their absolute essence or flow, or when they fully have people following their vision and their mission. And what you'll see time and time again is that there is an intuition that they have to be able to lead the people. They seem to know what to say, when to say it, how to bring the people together. And what happens then is there's a flow that begins when you get people together, because the rule of a leader is you're not a leader unless there are people following you. And a great leader has really high-level thinkers, people who are challenging the decisions, but there are creative minds that come in, other ways of looking at things. And it takes a rather intuitive person to be able to handle that. A great leader will take all those great minds and go with it. And so I think intuition, if we look at intuition, what it really is about collective wisdom. And we have our own collective wisdom, right? And then eventually that becomes our intuition, and then we have the collective wisdom of many. That's when you see groundbreaking leadership happening. First, one of the things I'll talk about in this evening is about the importance of intuition is connecting to the unconscious and or the subconscious mind. We have the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So 4% of our mind is conscious, and the big kahuna is the unconscious mind. And the way that we connect and we bypass that conscious, rational, deductive thinking to an inductive way of thinking is with being in a state of awareness. And intuition is that heightened state of awareness, is when you're completely aware of and trusting those impulses that are happening within you. When that happens, then we actually end up going to another level of consciousness, which is called the higher conscious, almost called like the collective consciousness, where an idea you have, this is where great minds thinking alike, or a great idea, somebody else has the great idea, that higher consciousness is actually connected to the collective, and that's exciting. So this is why I say, you've got a great idea, once you language it and you get it out there, somebody else is taking that as well. It's a bit like I call it the Roger Bannister story, where the two gentlemen were running for the 4-minute mile simultaneously, and it was just the one who was thinking outside the box out of how to run that 4-minute mile just literally a week before, who said, I'm going to run beside the car, and he ran beside the car, and that's how he did the 4-minute mile. Whereas Landry here in Australia was just a little bit later on the game. So but that collective, who can say where the idea of the 4-minute mile came from? One of them had the idea, and it went out to the collective consciousness, which is that higher consciousness, the spirit, which we all are, and we all have that. But the pathway to that is that unconscious connection. The language of the mind is actually unconscious. So we are right now believing we're having a conscious conversation, right? So it's a conscious awareness of the conversation. We have a conscious awareness of how we feel. But what is already happening well before this conscious awareness is an unconscious programming that's happening. And what I mean by programming is systemic. It's the programs that run in our mind and our whole body, our mind and body being one. And so our unconscious plays every role because our unconscious is where all of our learning is, all our behavior is, and all of our change happens. So learning, behavior, and change happens only unconsciously. It never occurs consciously. We're only consciously aware of the learning, only consciously aware of the behavior, and only consciously aware of the change. So it is all. It is. They said it was 96%. Sitting uni, sometimes I read different articles that go 97%. It doesn't matter. It's far greater than the conscious mind. And we think we're conscious. We're actually unconscious. It doesn't mean we're dead. Just we're in unconscious. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to breathe and think. And the amount of muscles to make this happen is hundreds and hundreds. And we're not thinking of how we get exactly to that point. That's an unconscious movement. And now we're consciously aware of the movement. So the unconscious is the entire, that's the machine, that's the processing magnificence of who we are.